Today, we will be discussing about Alagaddûpama Sutta, the discourse on the water snake parable. Welcome again to the Global Sutta series study for discussion organized by SKEGSS4-5 in collaboration with Piya from the Minding Center, Singapore. Thank you all for joining the class again. We can start now, Piya?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Try to get ready your puja.
Opening puja.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Anatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinnadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Right, welcome again to our Sutta study. Now we're going to do our meditation. Today we're going to do the breath meditation once more. As usual, sit comfortably. Sit in a relaxed way. Your body upright. You can lean back in your chair if you like. Otherwise, just sit in the way which is most relaxed. Feet placed on the ground comfortably, or cross-legged, depending. Palms together. It's best to close your eyes. If you feel better keeping your eyes open, then keep the eyes half open and always looking down 45 degrees on the floor. Don't look around, don't look at people. You easily get distracted that way. Make sure you're muted for the meditation. Just breathe easy and normal. Relaxed breathing. Don't do anything to your breath. Only watch it. Focus on it. Watch this breath like you're watching the sunset or watching your child, young child playing. So you are keeping an eye. You're keeping an eye on this breath. As the breath comes in and out. Stage 1, counting. As you breathe in, breathe out. 1. In, out. 2. In, out. 3. In, out. 4. In, out. 5. Then 1 to 5, 1 to 5. Or you can count 1 to 10, 1 to 10. Any number between 1 and 10. Don't use any number smaller than 5, too small. Don't go beyond 10, too big. Anytime you make a mistake, it's all right. Just start with one again. And smile occasionally. Meditate happily. It's easier to focus that way. In, out, count, smile. In, out, count, smile. For those of you who have difficulty counting, or for any reason you may not like counting, it's all right. There are some people who do not need counting, then you go straight into the second stage, in-out stage. In the in-out stage, simply you know you're breathing, and when you have breathed in, just after, you note it as in. And when you have breathed out, note it as out. Right at the end of it, right at the beginning of it. Sometimes we can also feel the whole breath, especially if it's a short breath, and you just note it in. You breathe out, short breath, out. If you like, you can also note the short breath as short breath. Then when you notice the longer breath, just note it as long breath. Just observe the breath just as it is. When you watch the breath in this way, it will slowly calm down. It will become slower, more peaceful. After a while, you may notice the spaces between your breaths getting longer. That is good. Once you notice the spaces getting longer, then you're ready for the third stage. In the third stage, you still watch in and out, but you smile at the spaces. Breathe in, then there is the space, smile at it. Then breathe out. Note as out. If the space gets long, it's okay. Don't do anything to it. Just smile at it. The spaces are not always consistent. Sometimes long, sometimes short. Some parts long, some parts short. Just let it be. So stage 3, the keyword is space. Smile at the peace, even joy of the space. If you notice any distraction, then gently whisper, peaceful, peaceful. Smile at the space. If you do your meditation regularly, sometimes, even during the third stage, you can feel very peaceful, very joyful. Then just let it be. And when you come out of your meditation, you feel very fresh, very joyful. So in the third stage, you still gently note the in-breath, and then the space, very peaceful. And then the out-breath, and the space again, very peaceful. In-breath, like that. As you do this, you find after a while, it's so peaceful. You know, you can feel, you don't have to say anything. It's so peaceful. Just watch the space, watch the peacefulness. Smile at it. Just feel it. There comes a point where the space is so peaceful, you don't feel like doing anything. No need to say anything, just silence. That is the fourth stage. Silent peace, joyful peace. It will be easier for you to get stages 3 and 4 when you are practicing on your own. But remember, don't rush it. Take your time. Feel the peacefulness in your body and mind. Smile at it. Sometimes the peacefulness is so deep, you don't feel anything at all. You don't feel your body. So it's all right if you don't feel your body. Don't panic, don't worry about it. This is the natural way because your mind is more focused. You forget about the 5 senses. That means no pain. And you can sit long. Now, before we end, we review our practice. Review the practice. Remember the good parts, the peaceful moments, joyful moments. Remember how you felt. This will help you in your future meditations. This is also your wonderful good karma, good mental karma. Remember them. If there are difficulties, you remember them also, like distractions, what kind of distractions, how you must overcome them, how you plan strategy to overcome them, and so on. So this is your review. And now, to end this meditation, you just open your eyes. This is called just sitting quietly in silence for a short while. We begin our meditation slowly, gently. We end it also slowly, gently. In your practice, it helps to have a small, quiet clock. The digital clock would be good, just to keep your time if you need to. Okay. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now let us begin our talk for today. Right, so now in our fifth class, we're going to look at quite an important sutta. This sutta is connected with the Vinaya also. So it is both Vinaya and the Dhamma. Alagaddûpama Sutta. This name has got two words. The first word is Alaga or Alagadda, which means snake or water snake to be exact. And then Upama. Upama means comparison. You have the word Malay word Umpama, same, comes from the same word. The simile of the water snake, the parable of the water snake. Sutta means thread or teaching. So this is M22, very easy to remember. M22, you can remember the name or the sutta number. The theme is basically the best way to master the Buddha's teaching, or rather how to avoid having wrong views about the Buddha's teaching, the importance of practice, not just word learning. Okay. All right. So that is the blurb, the title. Let us go down to the translation.
Piya, can I interrupt?
Yes, sure.
Alaga is 1G or 2G?
Oh, yes. Sorry, that is a typo there. That's right. I've been trying to check this. I missed this one. Alaga is spelled with one G and a double D. Alagaddûpama Sutta. Yeah. Thank you, Ratna. So just make a note, okay? It is a human mistake, nothing to do with the sutta. Huh? Thus have I heard at one time the Blessed One was staying in Anathapindika's park in Jeta's Grove near Savatthi. So this sutta probably happened during the last 25 years of the Buddha's life. This is understandable because the story of the sutta is very complicated about this monk who doesn't follow the Vinaya rules. So this is at the time when there were many monks. So from the location where the Buddha is staying, we can have some very good idea of the time. I call this a second period. Okay? So first period is more or less the first 10 to 20 years, like that. And then second period is like last 25 years or last 20 years, more or less. And there is a middle period around 10, 20 years in the middle. Just to have us a rough idea of when this event took place, we can more or less guess from a number of things. Now, at that time, a bad view arose in a monk named Aritta, formerly of the vulture killers. So here is to identify the many Arittas. So this particular person, he previously belonged to the clan that kills vultures. No? Now, I don't know why they kill vultures. Possibly these vultures, they fed on corpses, So these people are employed to chase away the vulture, kill them, to protect the corpse, I suppose, when the corpse is laid out in the charnel ground. So this Aritta, he has a wrong view. He says, thus I understand the Dharma taught by the Blessed One, that those things called obstructions by the Blessed One are not able to obstruct one who indulges in them. Okay, so we're not told much. Only the Sutta only says this. So the commentary, you can see the note 157 there. There are details. So apparently, this monk has his wrong view. It's quite a modern monk, if you like, when I'm speaking. His idea is that sexuality it's okay to enjoy sensual pleasures, even to have sex. But here's this funny idea that say, oh, something like criminals, you keep only 5 precepts, so they can have families. So what's wrong with that? That kind of idea. So you can already see the theme of this sutta. The commentary also tells us that this Aritta is a very learned monk, so he knows the suttas very well. Then later on in the sutta, you see the Buddha will be telling him not to just learn the sutta, but also to practice it. We'll come to that in a while. So here we see the monks also watching. The monks are also aware what's going on, and the monks are concerned. So let's see how they respond. Verse 3. Now, several monks heard it is said that such a bad view or wrong view had arisen in the monk named Aritta, formerly of the vulture killers. Now, you find in the sutta that this epithet, formerly of the vulture killers, repeated throughout after his name to make sure that we're talking about this particular person. So after this, I won't repeat this name for convenience because we can always see the name in the sutta. So the monks are concerned now, so they go up to him and they ask him, is this true, right? So they ask Aritta, and Aritta replies, he says, if you look at 3.3, yeah, 3.3, that is true, Awuso. Okay, the Dharma taught by the Blessed One, those things called obstruction by the Blessed One are not able to obstruct one who indulges in them. Okay, now the Pali is very interesting. There is a phrase in the Pali for that is true, Awuso. No? The Pali is Ewang Bia Ko. Ewang Bia Ko. This is very rare, only about half a dozen appearances of this phrase. Bia is Viya. Okay, so Ewang, the Viya is shortened to Bia. Okay, Viya means like, compared to. But here, Bia has simply the meaning of yes, indeed, that's true. So there is this emphasis. In other words, Aritta is very convinced. He says, "Oh yes, sure, certainly, that's my idea, right? Yes, indeed. I believe this. This is what I think. What's wrong with this? That kind of like very certain that he knows the Dharma and he thinks that it's okay, to enjoy such a pleasures. This is a serious thing, a serious statement for a monk to make. In fact, later on, there is a Vinaya rule stated, and this kind of wrong view is called. It entails the offense of pachittiya, expiation. In other words, this monk has to confess it and so on. So, in other words, the moment you hear a monk who says this, it's okay, for monks to touch women or worse, to have sex, things like that. At once, this monk commits this offense of achitya, expiation. So this monk has to go to the sangha, confess it, and so on. So as laymen, this is our duty, right? So we cannot say, oh, it's not my job to advise monks. They can, it's up to them, it's their karma. This is wrong view again, because the Vinaya was made because laymen complain, to protect the laymen and so on. So sometimes when we don't study the sutras, and the monks don't teach us the sutta, we can be very confusing. Things will get very bad. The laymen get confused. The monks themselves are confused, and so on, right? So suttas like today are very important. Teaches us how to protect the Buddha's teaching, how to not just protect, maintain quality control of the Buddha's teaching, so that we get what we truly deserve, the true teaching of the historical Buddha. So this monks asked Arita, is it true? And Arita says yes. Okay. So there are a lot of repetition here. I'm not going to read the repetition. I'm going to tell you the story, okay, in the story way. Then the monks, of course, are very concerned. 3.4, the monks, then those monks desiring to detach him, Arita, that is, from that harmful view, question, press, and parleyed with him. So they a lot of effort, they talked to him. Abuso Arita, do not say so. Do not misrepresent the Blessed One. It is not good to misrepresent the Blessed One. The Blessed One would not speak thus. So you see, these monks, they understand the teaching. For in many ways, Abuso Arita has the Blessed One stated how obstructive states are obstructive, and how they are able to obstruct one who indulges in them. So what are these obstructive states? These obstructive states are those things that prevent a monk from living a monk's life. It makes him break the big rules, okay? For example, having sex, concern with money. In fact, the Sutta, especially Samyutta Sutta, talk about running after fame and honor and so on. All these will bring down a monk. So these are obstructions, in other words. So here, this monk is very concerned. The monks tell Arita, I mean, look, the Buddha has been teaching against sensual pleasures, and the Buddha has taught us the 10 parables at least on the dangers of sexuality and so on. Now, just a quick explanation. Why is the Buddha so firm and so strong about this idea that monks should not enjoy sensual pleasures or have sex? The answer is quite simple, or it can be made simple if you understand the 5 aggregates. Sexuality has a lot to do with the body, of course, speech also. It keeps the body going, right? So nature perpetuates the species by the humans or animals, beings, feeling lust and sensual pleasures, and that drives humans, drive animals to have sex, and then you have babies, and then the species is perpetuated, and that continues samsara. Now, we can't exterminate all that, that's wrong, but we can individually overcome this drive that makes us animals, that nature put in us, that focus on the body, because the mind can be controlled. So tomorrow we have another class where I'll be talking about how we renounce the body first, see, in tomorrow's class, at 8 p.m. also. So we renounce the body first, then that is through the precepts, right? Then after that, we go into meditation. That's when we deal with the mind. So for lay people, of course, it's difficult to meditate. So the Buddha gives us the 5 precepts. The Buddha says, okay, you at least, keep a lookout on your body and speech. Don't get caught up with sensual pleasures, because you're going to get into a lot of difficulties. There'll be no society possible if sexuality is not controlled, not regulated, in other words. We will know whose children, whose parents, and so on. So for the monks, the idea is totally to renounce this sexuality, not their families, because they want to focus on the mind. So that's why they go into meditation. That's why they do jhanas. Jhana helps us to overcome attachment to the body by attaining a very high level of joy, mental joy, so joyful that you find the bodily joy is not as pleasant as mental joys. From there, the monk goes on to meditate, overcome the 10 Sanyojanas, the 10 fetters, right? Which again, I'll be talking about tomorrow. So then the monk goes on to attain. That is the plan, the training for the monks. But Arita here forgot about all that, missed out all that. He studied all these things, suttas only as intellectual stuff, and he did not focus on the real meaning and purpose of the Buddha's teaching. So here the monks reminding him, say, look, don't you've forgotten the Buddha spoke in 10 ways, you know. This is, for example, the parable of the skeleton, right? Sexuality, sensual pleasure are like the skeleton, the bones with a bit of blood on it, it's bare bones. And dogs and animals will come and eat it and bite it, but you know, you don't get much food from it, it's all bones. It is like a piece of meat. The piece of meat, once the birds come, they all of them will peck on it and they fight each other, even kill each other just to eat the meat. So sensual pleasure is like that. And it is like a grass torch. You know, grass torch. If the wind blows, it might burn you, burn your hands. So sensual pleasure is like that. It will hurt you. It's like a fiery coal pit. From a distance, nice and warm, but as you go nearer, wow, it really burns you. So sensuality is like that. After a while, at first it's just very nice, then later on you find lots of problems will come in. Then it's like a dream. It seems nice at first. Then after a while, you find it's not really nice. It's not what you think it is, and then you become even you ire with the person, things like that. And then you find you're not satisfied. So it's like a dream. It's like borrowed goods. A foolish person may think that, oh, you know, I have this, I have that, but the reality is you can't own pleasure. You can't really get exactly what you want, and then you know, people have their own bodies, their own way of thinking, so you might not be happy with them because they don't simply, you know, allow you what you want to do. So this causes suffering. It's like a fruit-laden tree, right? When the tree has fruits in it, then people come along and say, wow, you know, everybody wants the fruits. They will climb it, and others who cannot climb it will shake the tree, and some stupid person will come and cut down the tree, and that's the end of the tree. So when we are caught up with sensual pleasures, it's like that. We're not the only ones who want to enjoy it, and we find that we get into trouble. It's like a butcher's knife and block. Here, sensual desire cuts off our spiritual development. In other words, you find that you have difficulty meditating. If you're caught up with sensual pleasure, you won't even feel like coming for sutta class. You won't have time for sutta class. Number 9, it's like a sword stake. This sword stake is like a spear which is pierced into a prisoner, into a criminal, to make him suffer. Not just doesn't kill the person instantly, causes a lot of pain. So sexual pleasures cause all kinds of wounds in us. People get hurt after a while, you know, somehow. And it's like a snake's head. As you know, we come closer to the sutta, the snake's head, because the desire we have, there are some grave risks, there are some problems. You notice lately a lot of people have been accused of rape, molestation, and so on. So it comes back and it causes a lot of problems. So these are the 10 parables mentioned about 4 or 5 times in this sutta, but these are very important. This is to remind the other monks that there are these 10 teachings the Buddha has given up. So this is serious matter. Don't get caught up with this wrong view. So Arita refuses to back down. He says, no, I'm right, at a kind of very modernist, stubborn kind of situation. So the monks are very concerned. The monks know this is very serious. This is the first parajika, danger of breaking the first parajika rule, the very first rule for the monks. So since they cannot convince Arita, they go to the Buddha. So this is section 4. Since the monks were unable to detach Arita, formerly of the vulture killers, from its bad view, the monks approached the Blessed One. So here you see these monks are very concerned. They want to help Arita, but since they could not help Arita, they go to the teacher. So of course, what the normal thing what the Buddha will do is, okay, I summon him here, right? So the Buddha says, so first you see in this sutta, the whole story is repeated. So you have this oral tradition, the story is repeated. This is for the benefit of those who hear the story. Remember, this is an oral tradition. There were no notes those days. So the Buddha says, okay, call Arita over, right? So now you go to, we jump a bit, huh? We go to section 5, right? So the person, the monk, has been asked to go and look for him, and then this monk goes to Arita. Section 5, go further down, yeah. Oh, these are all repeats, the 10 parables. Okay, here we are, section 5. Then the Blessed One addressed a certain monk and said, come, bhikshus, tell the monk Arita, formerly of the vulture killers, in my name thus. The teacher calls you Awuso, all right? So, and then this person goes there and calls Arita. Arita comes, sees the Buddha. Then 5.2, the Buddha asks him, Arita, is it true? Is it true all these things that the monk says? And of course, Arita says, yes, indeed it is true. This is my view. Now, at once the Buddha reprimands him, section 6. See, the Buddha used a very strong word here. This means person is wrong. O hollow man, Mogga Purisa, O hollow man, to whom have you ever known me to teach the Dhamma in that way? Right? From whom have you ever heard teaching that way? O hollow man, have I not spoken in many ways regarding obstructing states and how they obstruct those who are not in them, right? So the Buddha said, look, I've taught in parables, right? So hollow man is someone who's got nothing inside, so it's not really helpful, right? To be full means to be full of Dhamma. So the Buddha repeats the 10 parables just as before, and then the section 7, then the Blessed One addressed the monks. So this time, since Arita is even quite stubborn with the Buddha, he doesn't confess, he doesn't say, oh, I'm wrong, So the Buddha goes back to the monks. So this is one of the ways where the Sangha can help. But in this case, of course, Arita is so stubborn. Apparently, so far from the sutta, we know Arita was very stubborn. He thinks he knows a lot. He doesn't even want to listen to the Sangha. He doesn't want to listen to the Buddha. So now the Buddha at least has to make sure the Sangha is not influenced by him, that the Sangha understands the teaching. So the Buddha now asks the monks, bhikshus, what do you think? Has this monk Arita, formerly of the vulture killers, kindled even the spark of wisdom in this Dhamma and Vinaya? So the Buddha say, is this right? Anyone agrees with him? So then the monks reply, or one of the senior monks speak on their behalf. How can this be, Bhante? No, Bhante. So now the Sangha also stands behind the Buddha. So you have his like the whole Sangha this time says, look, we don't agree with you, Arita. So now Arita feels like he's in the wrong, okay? And this is reflected in 7.2. When this was said, the monk Arita, formerly of the vulture killer, sat silent, dismayed, his shoulders drooping, hanging his head, glum, unable to speak, at a loss for words. So this shows that he feels bad about it, right? But he doesn't say anything. He just feels, oh, I don't have the support of these people, that's all. But somehow he's still caught up with the wrong view. So imagine this person is in a quite difficult situation, right? So now the Buddha goes on to teach the Sangha, since Arita doesn't want to be admonished, doesn't want to change. But of course, Arita is still there, unless he walks away. We're not told he walks away. He's probably sitting there listening too. So the Buddha continues his teaching, and then the Buddha talks about the 10 parables again, okay? And then in section 8.3, lots of repetitions here. Let's go to 8.3. The Buddha says, because now the monk also replied, the monk said, yes, we know about the 10 parables, and we understand that, these sensual pleasures are a danger to the holy life, to the monastic life, to the celibate life. Then the Buddha replies, good bhikshus, good, sadhu, sadhu. It is good that you understand the Dhamma taught by me thus. For in many ways I have spoken on obstructive states and how they obstruct those who indulge in them. So the Buddha says that, I've been speaking so many times about this, right? Look at all these 10 parables, okay? So, and these 10 parables are repeated one more time. It's the last time. And then the Buddha makes his statement, section 9. This is the key statement summarizing all that you have said so far. Indeed, bhikshus, it is impossible that one can indulge in sensual pleasures without sensual desires, without perception of sensual desires, without thought of sensual desires. So in other words, your body and mind is all taken up by this recycling situation where the snake bites its own tail, where the snake devours itself. So that is the nature of sensual pleasures. The body is lost in the body. That is why it is so dangerous, right? So now the Buddha goes on to another level of teaching. This is a very important part where you see it's called the parables of the water snake, right? We find the Buddha talking about the importance of knowing why we study the Dhamma, why we listen to suttas like this, how we should do it, what is there to follow up, and so on. All right. Section 10. Here, bhikshus, some misguided people learn the Dhamma. Then the Buddha gives what are called the 9 limbs of the teaching, the 9 parts. The discourses, the stanzas, the expositions, the verses, the inspired utterances, the sayings, the birth stories, the marvels, and the answers to questions. But having learned the Dhamma, they do not wisely examine the true purpose or the meaning of these teachings. Without examining the true purpose or meaning of these teachings with wisdom, they are not convinced of it. In other words, they fail to see its wisdom. Right? So this is the highlight of the teaching of this sutta. Now, this passage is very interesting because it mentions the 9 kinds of the anga, navanga. Okay, if you look at the notes there, 168 is all listed there. The Pali word is sutta. Number 1 is a sutta. Then number 2 is gaya. Okay, gayas are verses and prose suttas which have verses in them, like the first chapter of the Samyutta. And then you have the expositions, exposition of Vyakarana. This one exposition given in detailed answers. Then you have the Gata are verses like Mangala Sutta and so on. And Udana are inspired utterances. In the sutta you have a Udana, of course. Then you have the Itivuttaka, another short collection of short teachings. Then there are Jataka stories. Abhuta Dhamma refers to the miraculous stories of the Buddha, actions of the Buddha of the Buddha and the disciples which are remarkable, like the Buddha praising the good qualities in Ananda, monks making lion roar, so a great show of faith. And then you have the Vedala, the last one's Vedala. This is question and answers. No? So basically, these are the 9 kind of types of teaching. They are not actually strict category. They are a very early way of talking about different kinds of teachings. In fact, right now in SD 58.1, I'm writing about this in some detailed discussion. So here, basically, the Buddha is saying, here you have all these teachings, the 9 types of teachings. You learn them, but make sure you know the atta, A-T-T-H-A. Now, the word atta has various meanings. One meaning is meaning. Artha means meaning. Okay. Another meaning is what we call purpose. The purpose of it. Notice the meaning and purpose often go together. And all meaning leads to purpose. From meaning, you know, for example, the noble truth number 1, noble truth number 2, there is suffering, rising of suffering. There's meaning of life. Life is full of suffering. So what is our purpose then? Our purpose is truth number 3 and 4. To free ourselves from suffering, go to the path to free ourselves from suffering. Okay. Artha also means benefit, right? So this the word artha used in this context also in the phrase we read earlier to you. So here the Buddha says in the next section, without examining, you got to go back up a bit. Without, okay, there you are. Without examining the true purpose, meaning those teaching with wisdom, they are not convinced of it. So if you do not know the real meaning and purpose of what we're studying, why we're studying, then we are not sure how to practice it, basically. All right. So then the Buddha goes on and says, instead they learn the Dhamma only for the benefit of finding faults with others and for freeing themselves in a debate of combating criticism. And they do not enjoy the good for the sake of which one learns the Dhamma. These teachings are wrongly grasped by them and bring them harm and suffering for a long time to come. Why is that? Because bhikshus of the wrong grasp of the teaching. Wrong grasp of the teaching. So once the Buddha mentioned this, the wrong grasp of the teaching, now the Buddha comes to a famous parable, the parable of the water snake. Okay, so this is where we get the title of the sutta. So let's look at the parable. 10.2. Suppose a man who needs a water snake, looking for a water snake, wandering in search of a water snake, sees a large water snake and grabs its coils or its tail. It would turn back and bite his hand or his arm or one of his limbs. And because of that, he would suffer death or deadly pain. Why is that? Because bhikshus of the wrong grasp of the water snake. Now, everyone in the audience know this, okay, because in India, even today, they know water snakes are very dangerous. So this person is foolish. He catches a snake only by the tail. Wrong grasp. So too, here some misguided person learns the Dhamma. Then the list is given there: discourses, stanzas, expositions, verses, inspired utterances, sayings, birth stories, marvels, and answers to questions. But having learned the Dhamma, they do not wisely examine the true purpose, the meaning of those teachings. Without examining the true purpose, the meaning of those teachings with wisdom, they are not convinced of it. They fail to see its wisdom. Instead, they learn the Dhamma only for the sake of criticizing others and for winning debates. And they do not enjoy the good for the sake of which one learns the Dhamma. The good here refers to joy, peace, attaining, stream winning, and awakening as arahats. Those teachings, wrongly grasped by them, bring them harm and suffering for a long time to come. Why is that? Because bhikshus of the wrong grasp of the teaching, right? So this is the key word, wrong grasp. If you study Dhamma wrongly, this is what happens. Then notice the Buddha always says something negative and then it goes on to the positive side. Now here bhikshus, some clansmen learn the Dhamma, discourses, stanzas, expositions, verses, inspired utterances, sayings, birth stories, marvels, and answers to questions. And having learned the Dhamma, they examine the true purpose, the meaning of those teachings with wisdom. Having examined the true purpose, the meaning of those teachings with wisdom, they are convinced of it. They see its wisdom, right? So we ask questions, we reflect. They do not learn the Dhamma for the sake of criticizing others, nor for winning debates. They enjoy the good for the sake of which one learns the Dhamma. So here means they meditate. They go into solitary retreats, meditate, they practice. Those teachings properly grasped by them bring them welfare and happiness for a long time to come. Why is that? Because of the right grasp of the teachings. So here you have right grasp, wrong grasp. All right. So now the Buddha continues with the conclusion of the parable of the water snake. This is very interesting. This is one of those rare occasions when you see the Buddha giving this parable. He mentions the negative part first. The man who catches the snake wrongly and is bitten by the snake, he dies or gets hurt. And the Buddha explains the meaning in the middle. And then he closes with the wise snake catcher. 11.2. Suppose a man who needs a water snake, looking for a water snake, wandering in search of a water snake, sees a large water snake and catches it rightly with a cleft stick with a V-shape end, cleft stick. And having done so, grasp it rightly by its neck. Then although the snake might coil around his hand or his arm or one of his limbs, still he would not suffer death or deadly pain. Why is that? Because the right grasp of the water snake. So here you see, if you hold the snake by the neck, it's just below the head, in other words, then the snake can coil around the hand, the arm, or if it's long snake, even around the leg. It still won't harm the snake catcher. Second 12. Therefore, bhikshus, when you understand the meaning of my word, remember it accordingly. And when you do not understand the meaning of my word, then you should question and counter-question either me or the learned monks about it. So there you are. Question or counter-question to this. So this is a very important practice. No? So here's the Buddha advising us to find out, to inquire, not just to believe. Okay, so now we come to the second parable. So this is the first parable. The first parable is talking about learning the Dhamma for the right reasons, finding out the purpose, and then following up with practice. Now the Buddha goes a bit deeper. How do we properly practice? Well, what is the right attitude for this practice? Section 13. Bhikshus, I will show you how the Dhamma is comparable to a raft. That's why this is called a parable of the raft. That is for crossing over the waters for the far shore, not for the purpose of grasping. Notice this line, how it weaves and it connects with the previous statement the Buddha made. The keyword was grasping, remember? Right grasp, wrong grasp, right? So here the Buddha said, okay, now I'll teach you another parable. The two important parables are found in this sutta. So the Buddha said this time is the raft. Okay? Again, what is the purpose of a raft? Listen and pay close attention. I will speak. So the Buddha's ready with a new parable. So the Buddha says again, listen, get ready, right? The Buddha said this, Bhikshus, suppose a man in the course of his journey saw a great stretch of water, whose near shore is dangerous and fearful, and whose far shore is safe and free from fear, free from danger. Okay? But there is no ferry or bridge for going across to the far shore. Then he thinks, there is this great stretch of water whose near shore is dangerous and fearful, and whose far shore is safe and free from danger. But there is neither ferry nor bridge for going across to the far shore. What now if I were to collect grass, wood, branches, and leaves and bind them together into a raft? And supported by the raft and exerting effort with my hands and feet, I go safely across to the far shore. And then the man collects grass, wood, branches, leaves, and binds them together into a raft, and then supported by the raft, exerts himself, using his hand and feet, goes safely across to the far shore. Okay, so this first part. Now comes the clincher, as we say, 13.4. Then, when he has gone across and arrived on the far shore, he might think thus: this raft has been helpful to me, being supported by it and exerting effort with my hands and feet, I went safely across to the far shore. Suppose I were to hoist it on my head and bear it on my shoulder and then go wherever I want. So he thinks, what if I carry it? What if I take it with me since it's so useful to me? By doing that, would that man be doing what should be done with the raft? So this time the Buddha asked the audience, did you think this is the right thing? Here, bhikshus, when that man, notice here, the Buddha asked a rhetorical question. The monks did not answer. So the answer is clear. It would be very foolish for the man to carry the raft. Here, bhikshus, when that man has gone across and arrived on the far shore, he might think thus: this raft has been very useful to me, supported by it, and using my hands and feet, I went safely across the far shore. Suppose I were to haul it onto dry land, set it adrift into the water, and then go wherever I wish. Now, bhikshus, by doing so, that man is doing what should be done with that raft, right? So in this case, the Buddha is quite clear. This raft already is useful. You don't need, you can build it anytime. You don't need to carry along with you, but it's going to break up anyway, right? So this is the parable. And then the Buddha adds in the meaning. We know this because the Buddha said, even so. Once you see this keyword or tag, even so, you know the Buddha is going to connect this to the teaching. Even so, I have shown you the Dhamma that is comparable to a raft, which is for crossing over the waters to the far shore, not for the purpose of grasping. Now, let me say a few things more about this parable. So here, what is the Buddha talking about? What is this parable pointing to? Notice the Buddha says, okay, you build this raft and then you paddle with hands and feet, okay? I mean, he could have said we use a stake or something, right? But he didn't. He says use hands and feet. So there are 4 things here: 2 hands, 2 feet, right? So here it's very clear. If you have been studying Sutas, you know, oh, the Buddha is talking about the 4 satipatthana. See? The Buddha is talking about meditation. So striving and crossing the waters is like, you know, you meditate and you cross over samsara, you cross over suffering using the 4 satipatthanas, the 4 focuses of mindfulness, right? So, but the point here, the Buddha doesn't want to go into details of teachings. He's talking about the practice. So in section 14, it says, bhikshus, having understood the parable of the raft, you should abandon even the dharmas. How much more so that which are not dharmas? Wow, this line is really profound. Because of its simplicity, the Buddha just used the word dharma. So this way, again, we have to be very careful, very mindful that of what's called polysemy. Polysemy means the many important Pali words which have more than one meaning. And dharma has many meanings. In fact, the word dhamma in Pali, dhamma double M, it's got the most meanings. You can write a whole volume on this. So here, the Buddha says, in your practice, in our practice, we must give up even dharmas. So that's what the parable of the raft is about. The raft is a dharma. You move across with the raft and then you reach the shore, you let go of it, you don't carry it with you. So what does dharma mean? Well, you're not wrong if you say, okay, it refers to the teachings, right? That the teachings help us to cross the ocean of suffering, the waters of suffering, and reach the other side. You don't need the teachings. In the sense that you've already understood it. It's not that the teachings are useless. It is because you have understood it. That is how the teachings work, right? The teaching is not a thing, right? So you can't carry what is not a thing with you. So that's the first meaning. So obvious. So the first meaning is teaching. Now, another meaning is mental states. Dharma can mean mental states. Right? So when you meditate, dharmas arise, mental states arise, and you can't hold on to them. You have to let go of them, right? So you have to let go even of mental states. As they come, let them come, let them go. That's what you are told in your breath meditation just now. As whatever arises, just smile at it, let it go. But here the Buddha, look at the way the Buddha puts his words here. You should look at the bold words. You should abandon even the dharmas. How much more so that which are not dharmas? So the Pali word is dhamma, not dhamma is adhamma. Well, we can interpret another way. Third way, the dharma refers to good states, joyful states, right? So remember when we watch our breath, joy arises, we welcome the joy, yes, but then we don't hold on to the joy. We just let it come, we let it go, then we go further and further, we progress. There's always something more to do, says the Buddha. Those are dhammas. In fact, what is interesting here, in this simple word dharma, lies the whole spirit of renunciation. What do you renounce? What did Prince Siddhartha renounce? He renounced all the good things. Because if they're not good things, you don't use the word renounce. As simple as that, right? You think about it. He renounced the palace, which is a really nice place to live in. We all would love a palace today. A palace is bigger than any condo you can think of in Singapore, you know, right? He will renounce pleasures, all the sensual pleasures he had. You know, three mansions with all women and musicians and beautiful and young. He gives up this pleasure, right? He gives us power. See, 3 P's, you know, right? So palace, pleasure, power, right? So these are all good things. So you have to give up all these good things, right? So if that's the case, what about bad things? You should be giving them even more, says the Buddha. It's so logical. Of course, the Buddha is not exactly referring to that. He's saying in your meditation, you attain good states. But if you want to progress, you have to go beyond the good states. Take loving kindness, for example. Loving kindness is good, right? You attain loving kindness, may all beings be well and happy. Then you rise above loving kindness. You let go of loving kindness. What is the next level? That is compassion, right? You send out your compassion to others. Then you rise above your compassion. You let go of compassion. There is joy. Then you rise above joy. You let go of joy. There is equanimity. And you rise above equanimity, you go beyond deeper meditation. So that's the meaning of this statement. That you let go even of the good things for higher states. If you do that, what about negative states? Like the way Arita has been talking about sensual pleasures, you got to let go of those things. Definitely. So there you are. This is the deep teaching on these simple lines. No? So we stop here for a short break.
You can continue now.
Okay, very good, Sadhu. Now, the sutta is quite long. We're only halfway. I'll try to finish this if I can. If not, we will continue the next round. Okay, now we're in section 4 of the sutta, the 6 grounds for views. So now the Buddha is going into what is it that we should give up. We should understand what are the six grounds of views, and then when we understand that, then we know how to give up views. Bhikshus, what are these 6 grounds for views? There are these 6 grounds of views. What are the 6? Here, bhikshus, an ignorant ordinary person who has no regard for the noble ones and is unskilled and undisciplined in their dharma, who has no regard for the true individuals and is unskilled and undisciplined in their dharma. First of all, there are 2 groups of people here. First, you have the noble ones, the Aryas, and then you have the true individuals. Now, one way of interpreting this is the noble ones here refers to the non-returners and the arahats. The true individuals refer to the ones returners and stream winners. That's one way of looking at it. Another way is the noble ones, of course, are the 4 kinds of saints, and the true individuals are those aspiring, who are near the path, who are serious practitioners, in other words, and who are also very wise, compassionate teachers. So here the Buddha says, an ignorant person, a foolish person, regards form thus: this is mine, this I am, this is myself. This is called self-identity view, right? You look at form, the body, this is mine, right? This is what I am. There's this feeling of status, attachment. This is myself, showing ownership. So here you can see there's a note there which says this refers to threefold grasping. When you say this is mine, it refers to craving. When you say this I am, it refers to conceit. And then this is myself refers to view, wrong view, if you like. So these are the 3 things that create suffering in us. Then this foolish person regards feelings, thus, this is mine, this I am, this is myself. He regards perception, thus, this is mine, this I am, this is myself. He regards formations, thus, this is mine, this I am, this is myself. Okay, so you have the 4 of the 5 aggregates there. Number 5 is different. He regards what is seen, heard, sensed, known, found, sought after, mentally pursued, thus, this is mine, this I am, this is myself, right? So this number 5 refers to consciousness, what our cognitive experience, what is seen, heard, sensed, known. Okay, so known, the consciousness is already mentioned there. So whatever arises through our senses, what we know, we're attached to that. And then number 6, and this grounds for views, namely, the world is the self. After death, I will be permanent, everlasting, eternal, unchanging in nature, eternally the same. I will endure as long as eternity. This too, he regards thus. This is mine, this I am, this is myself. So this last one is the eternalist view, right? So these are different kinds of views people get caught up with. They either attach to the body, parts of their body, consciousness, or ideas, right? So that's the foolish person. 16, the Buddha talks about the noble disciple, the one who really practiced, okay? The well-taught noble disciple and true individuals, okay? So here, of course, the streamliners and so on, they are different such views. The individuals are the true practitioners. So they do not regard form that this is. They look at form. They say this is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. He regards feeling. Thus, this is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. He regards perception. Thus, this is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. He regards formations. Thus, this is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. So in all the first 4 aggregates, everything is not self, right? It happens, it works by itself, okay? He regards what is seen, heard, sensed, known, found, sought after, mentally pursued thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. whatever is known, even the knowledge that we have. We don't own it. And this ground for views, namely the world is the self, right? So it doesn't have this view, right? The ground is, the world is the self. After death, I'll be permanent, everlasting, eternal, unchanging in nature, eternally the same, I will endure as long as eternity. This too he regards thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. But sometimes views arise in us. We think that like, oh, how wonderful it is, we can live forever. How nice it is if we don't get sick, we don't die. When those thoughts arise, you say, oh, this is not mine, this I'm not, this is not myself. These are just thoughts. So letting go of all this, right? This is how we practice. Regarding them thus, he's not anxious regarding what is non-existent. So in other words, the Buddha says, these things don't exist. So since they don't exist, he's not troubled by them when he behaves in this way. Right? So here, this is one of those occasions when the Buddha is teaching like this, and he pauses for a while, and there was a very intelligent monk or concerned monk asked a question. Look at 18. When this was said, a certain monk asked the Blessed One, Bhante, can there be anxiety over what is non-existent externally? Right? So the Buddha says something non-existent. So now the Buddha is, now this monk is curious. What about something non-existent externally? Because the Buddha didn't mention this. Then the Buddha replies, there can be, Bhikshu. Here, Bhikshu, someone thinks, alas, I had it. Alas, I have it no longer. Alas, may I have it. Alas, I cannot have it. Then he sorrows, grieves, and laments. He weeps, beating his breast, and becomes distraught. That is how there is anxiety over what is non-existent externally. So here, something outside, let's say we had a nice phone and the phone got damaged and we feel so bad. Oh, now I don't have this phone and so on and so forth. We will suffer everything that way, right? So it's something external, which is no more there, which can bring suffering. On the other hand, then this monk asks another question. Bhante, can there be no anxiety over what is non-existent externally, right? So what if something doesn't exist? Here, there can be bhikshu, the Blessed One said. Here, bhikshu, someone does not think thus. Alas, I had it. Alas, I have no longer. Alas, may I have it. Alas, I cannot have it. Don't think like that, right? So in other words, we do not look at this thing by way of, oh, you think about it. Or if the thought arises, you say, this is not mine, you let go. So the two ways of dealing with it. All right, you deal the first part the Buddha mentioned today, or the second part. We don't have this kind of thought. So these are two ways how there is no anxiety over what is non-existent externally. Now, this seems a very intelligent monk. We're not told who he is. He asks another question. 20. Bhante, can there be anxiety over what is non-existent internally? There can be bhikshus, the Blessed One said. Here, bhikshu, one has the view, the world is the self. After death, I will be permanent, everlasting, eternal, unchanging in nature, eternally the same. I will endure as long as eternity. Okay, so he has this wrong view already mentioned. He hears the Tathagata or the Tathagata's disciple, the Buddha or the Buddha's disciple, teaching the Dhamma for the elimination of all fixations to grounds for views. The Buddha or his disciple teaches not to get fixed with views, to let go of views, let go of mindsets, obsessions, inclination, and latent tendencies, for the stilling of all formations, for calming the mind, for the relinquishing of all attachment, for the destruction of craving, for the fading away of lust, for the ending of suffering, for nirvana. Right? So the Buddha or the Buddha's disciple teaches about letting go so that you get to nirvana. So this person who thinks about eternal life or God idea and so on, 20.4, he thinks that, so I will be annihilated, I will perish, I will be no more. Then he sorrows, grieves, and laments. He weeps, beating his breast, and becomes distraught. This is how there is anxiety regarding what is non-existent internally, right? So here is a view, an idea. This person will get lost, feel unhappy, feel worried, because he has this eternalist idea, and then he has the Buddha's teaching. Say, oh, we have to let go of all these views. There is no such thing as eternal life. Then this monk asks, can there be no anxiety over what is non-existent internally? So how do we overcome this anxiety, this worry? So the answer here is the same, or rather similar to what was said previously. The answer is not to behave in the previous way. Do not have the view, the eternalist view, that the world is eternal, I'm going to have eternal life. So let go of that view, overcome that view. Then when you don't have that view, you hear all the whatever teachings the Buddha gives about impermanence and so on, then you will not have fear. You will not say, oh no, I won't go to heaven or something like that. But that suffering is not because of what the Buddha said. That suffering is because you have those views. And you find that since those views are false, this is what will happen to you, right? So the person is not happy because of that. Now, I'm going to stop here for today because there are lots of deep teachings here, so it's going to be quite difficult if we go on. And they're very important teachings, so I'm not going to rush them. So we will do this in a part 2 of this study next round. Now, actually, the next class we're going to have Sigalovada Sutta. I started 3 sessions for Sigalovada Sutta. After examining it, I find that actually 2 sessions should be enough, Sigalovada Sutta, because the teachings are quite straightforward. But these teachings here in the Alagaddûpama Sutta is quite profound, so I want to go a bit slow. Okay, so I'll stop here for the moment. Then we have about, I think, 40 minutes, right? So
Yes.
4 questions. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Brother Piya. We will take questions now. Sister Isim will do the Q&A now. Thank you, Sister Isim.
Thank you, Sister Wendy. Good evening, brother and sister in the Dharma. Thank you, Brother Piya, for the Sutta teaching also. The first question from Sister Rachel.
Yes.
Is there a mind-body dichotomy in Buddhism? I.e. that there is a separation between the mind and the body. So when we meditate, we are only dealing with the mind, leaving the body behind?
Very interesting question, very good question. In fact, I mentioned a bit about this if you remember, in the study on the 5 aggregates, right? Early Buddhism, the Buddha talks about the savinyanaka kaya, the conscious body, right? So one way we can look at this is that the mind and body, they are really one, they go together, okay, in that sense, they work together. Because without the mind, the body will not be conscious, the body will not, we will not know that the body is there. So the mind can exist by itself, but not the body, okay? So this is a very interesting point. This is one way of talking, okay? So as a human being, you need both body and mind, because we are in the sense world. The nature of beings in the sense world is that we are body-based. To say we are body-based means we are sense-based. The body comprises eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body, 5 senses. And then there's the mind. When we talk of the mind, we can, in a manner of speaking, talk of the mind existing by itself. We can, but then we're talking about another realm of experience. For example, the form realm or the formless realm, for example. Okay, but not nirvana, by the way. In nirvana, both body and mind cease to be, so to speak, right? So the answer is contextual. You got to look at the situation. So when we talk about, say, during meditation, yes, during meditation, we, as it were, let go of the body. In good meditation, we attain jhana as pure mind. So in that sense, yes, the body, the mind is separated from the body in that sense. But it is temporarily. In the human case, it is temporary. Okay. In the case of the form beings, formless beings, it's different. It's the nature of their existence. So this is one way of looking at it. Okay, so these are some of the answer to this rather difficult part now, which we'll have to talk about during the study on consciousness. Okay, so I hope my answer up to this point helps to give you some idea. Okay, all right, let's go on to the next question.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Brother Tan Kim Si.
Sure.
Many monks know the water snake parable mentioned by Buddha. Why then many do not live up to the wisdom? Going around grabbing the snake by the tail, accumulating akusala karma by teaching and practicing, not taught by the Blessed One.
Okay, this is one question I wish I know the answer. The thing is, well, that's what the sutta is about. You know, there are many people, not just monks, many people study suttas. I mean, scholars study suttas, you know, but it's to earn a living, so they don't really bother much the way we bother about the suttas. So we have to ask the monks themselves, why do they do that? Of course, I can only suggest some possible solutions. You know, partly it's the lay people to be blamed. It is the snake biting its tail. It's go back and forth. In Malaysia, this is a special problem in Malaysia and Singapore because the lay Buddhists are not outspoken. We look up to the monks as power figures, authority figures. In the West, the Buddhists tend to question the monks and nuns more directly, more often. Here, we see them as authority figures. So we do not tell them what's right, what's wrong. Recently, I was telling someone, can you know, this monk is kind of, he's asking for money, and then you find that he has got all this PayPal on his Facebook, things like that. And he's into some worldly things, you know. So this woman who is very close to him or who admires him tells me, "Oh no, I can't tell him about his rules, and I don't want to tell him what to do or not to do." So they have that kind of attitude. So and that encourages wrong behavior with the monks too. So it goes both ways. I would say this is quite sensitive, quite difficult. But if you do it among yourself, at least, maybe you don't tell the monks directly, but among yourself, you're outspoken, you're not afraid to speak out, say monks must keep to the rules. This is what the Vinaya says in the first place. You're not going against anything. And you keep saying that. And this message will slowly seep to them, to the monks. Say, oh, you know, this monk will say, oh, you know, we cannot fool the people of Malaysia and Singapore, you know. And now it's different. They say, oh, these people of Malaysia and Singapore, they're very biased, they're very full of praise, and they're very kind, and they respect, even fear the monks. So you have this kind of attitude which needs to be corrected, you see. Because they, in a sense, they want you to fear them. Right? We do fear them, in fact, you know. We think that monks have power, we have to respect them, and there are many reasons for this. So the parable of the water snake, the sutta, is only a kind of a litmus paper, a test to show something is wrong there. And it's a very important question. We can correct it, we must correct it. And this is what I'm doing now, teaching you all hoping you will ask this kind of question. And when you go on asking this kind of question, then you know there is this problem. I don't have all the answers. I can't give you all the answers alone myself. But we can work together and find out what is wrong there and then slowly correct it. It is possible. Definitely by the next generation, we can remove certain obstacles, correct certain ways of wrong thinking, all these monks having problems. And in many ways, we should ourselves know what the monks' rules are and do not make them break the rules, for example. I don't want to go into specific here because there are many specific things. We need to discuss all this separately, maybe have a special seminar for Buddhists, and discuss on ourselves. How do we properly correct these views as lay people, as a community of lay people who are concerned with the Dhamma, so that we have the Buddhism that we deserve, right? So that's a suggestion, and I really appreciate this question, right? Okay, thank you. Let's go on now.
Thank you, Brother Piya. Brother Savan Kumar raised his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brother Savan, can you?
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Brother Piya.
Yeah. Hello. Yes.
I have one question. The question is, in the sutta, it mentions that Dhamma is like a raft.
Yeah.
How we have to understand that parable? Is it like only after Arahant can let go of Dhamma and he live without Dhamma?
Oh,
how to understand that for a lay people like us, the parable?
Yes, it's easy for the Arahats. Even streamers can do that, right? But even streamers have not totally let go of all views. They still have certain views. As I said, I'll be talking about this tomorrow. For example, streamers may be concerned and say, "Oh, how come lay people are still caught up with certain wrong practices?" So they do have certain concerns. For people who are not awakened like us, okay. Number one is that we know there is this teaching, that the Buddha is telling us this is possible. You can think this way. So the Buddha is telling us we must not be attached to the good things in life, Dhamma, good things. Okay. On a simple level, let's say you're a layperson, you have good things, you have nice food, So let's begin with very simple, nice food. I mean, we enjoy food. Yeah, when you have it, you enjoy it, For example, my tastes are simple. I like chapati and roti prata with curry. But then if I have it every day, I wouldn't like it. So I have to let go of it also, right? So you have to let go of even good things. You begin there, very simple, right? And let's say you have a phone, okay? You buy a phone and you got this very nice phone. Say, oh wow, I love this phone. The first phone you got is really wonderful. After a while, you find there are other people with better phones with lots of nice features. You want a better phone and a better phone, and there's no end to it. And anyway, they are selling all these new things with the phone, so you do not know where to start. You see, so there you apply this parable you've learned. That you say, okay, I'm quite happy with this. Let me not compare myself with others. So don't compare with others. You have this phone, you're happy with it. Use it until it breaks. Yeah, after a few years, you don't need it anymore, then you can't use it anymore, then you get a new one. Of course, you can't do this with people, right? you marry someone, you love that person, and you stay on. That's different. But in this case, how do we behave to follow this parable? We love the person. We say, oh, this person is beautiful, have this looks, that look, and so on. Now we know we all grow old. So after a while, even though these beautiful looks go away, and we have to accept this. So we let go of this good looks. But we see other aspects of this person. This person has got good qualities, kindness, patience, wisdom. So we accept this person as it is, as things change over time, right? Accept change. This is another message, simpler level message here from the two parables you have heard. Accept change. People change, things change, you change, I change, we accept it. So this is a simple answer, reflect on that, and then listen to the part where I talk about the parable again. So I hope this helps, okay?
Thank you, Brother
All
Piya.
right, sure. Okay.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Go HK.
Yeah, sure.
Why in para 14 you should abandon even the dhammas? How much more so that which are not dhammas? Why is the word dhammas is spelled with a small d instead of a capital D? What is the significance of this?
Yes, I love this question. Big D, small d. All right, in Pali, there are no big letters, small letters. They're all the same. Okay, so Buddha is spelled with a small b throughout, right? Okay, so big B Buddha, small b Buddha. Now, when we speak of Gautama Buddha, we normally will use the big B, so it refers to him especially. But when we speak of Buddhas generally, past Buddhas, present Buddha, future Buddha, we use a small b. So this is a kind of a common noun, collective noun. So we use small b. So that's one principle, whether it is common or specific, right? You'll see in my translation, I normally, in the title of suttas, I use capital S, big S. In the text, in the notes, I use small letter suttas. Read the suttas, study the suttas, that's small s. Okay, so this means suttas in general. So if they're proper names, we use the big S sutta. Sometimes I mention a sutta, I say, in Alagaddûpama Sutta, Buddha said this. And then I say, in the sutta, I'll have to use big S again. But if I say, the Buddha says the same thing in other suttas, this generally speaking, your small s, right? So this is another meaning, okay? Now, then there are other things, like Sangha. You find, whenever I write Sanghas in the three bows, all those reflection, we say, homage to Buddha, homage to Dhamma, capital B Buddha, capital D Dhamma. Then Sangha, I usually use small s. I don't use the big S. The small s here to me, it means the natural, normal, the noble Sangha. The Sangha is noble by itself. You don't have to give it a big letter S to show it so. Okay? The small s represents that noble Sangha. It refers to the streamliners, one-sitters, non-returners, arahants. Small s, Sangha, right? The big S Sangha refers to the Sangha that is formed by people of power with titles, big titles, Nayaka, Mahanayaka, Chief High Priest, and so on. That's the big letter S, okay? Now, you say, why can't we use the other way around? We've got the Noble Sangha, why don't we use the big S? And then use the small s for those powerful monks. They won't like it. I'll be in trouble. See? So it's better to put the big S where it's meant to be. Okay, there's a bit of a pun here, but you know what I mean. Okay, so the big S refers to these people who feel importance, power, and so on. And also in Mahayana, you have all these big ideas. So it's also a kind of protest, a kind of I feel that they have rejected the Buddha, so it's a silent, gentle protest. I'll use all the big letters for all the Mahayana stuff. I use small letters, the Theravada, early Buddhism, wherever I can. See? So this is a way we can use small letters, big letters, to show what is important to us. Now, coming back to Dhamma with a small d, small d here, as I said, refers to Dhamma in general. It can refer to all the different meanings of Dhamma. Whereas if you use a big D Dhamma, it refers to the Dhamma as teaching, not just teaching as the Buddha's teaching, but then it will restrict the meaning of Dhamma in the Pali. See, this is the problem. When you read the Pali, the word Dhamma has no big D. It's just Dhamma. It's a sound, Dhamma. See? So, but the translator has to decide, okay, how do I translate this? It is not the big D Dhamma here, because it's a general reference to Dhamma. It can mean the teaching. It can mean Dhamma as mental states. Kusala Dhamma, right? It can refer to Dhamma as actions that we do, all right? Dhamma can refer to the thoughts, mental states that goes on in our head also. So that's why the small d is used. It refers to general things which can be collective or does not refer to a specific situation. I hope this helps. Okay, it's a very good question. I like this question. Okay, let's go on.
Thank you, Father Piya. The next question from Yan City. I am a lay person. How should I apply this teaching? Do I give up all sensual pleasures?
Okay, very good question. Yeah, lay person, huh? No, of course not. The Buddha did not say you should give up all sensual pleasures. I mean, it's impossible, right? I don't think anyone can, in your right mind, do that. You know, and even as monks, so difficult for monks to give up sensual pleasures. Not to mention the lay people. Of course, there are some very good lay people who have very simple tastes, who live simple lives. That's possible, yes, but those are exceptional cases. And these are very special people, right? There are certain days we try to do that. Full moon, new moon days, we try to live simple life, right? We go to the temple or we stay at home, we keep the precepts. We keep the 8 precepts, right? We keep the normal 5 precepts plus that we don't have any sexual contact that day. That's called the celibacy rule. That's a 3rd precept. We don't sing or dance. We don't watch TV. We don't drink. We don't get drunk. That is the 5th precept. We don't. We use very simple beds to sleep on, and we don't do shopping or minimize shopping. The best is not to do shopping because you're supposed to focus your mind that day to meditate and so on. That's what we can do as lay people. Certain days, certain times, we can get into the renunciation mode or monk mode, nun mode, if you like. We can practice that during certain periods to free ourselves from the world. That is why we have the holidays. The holidays originally were holy days, if you recall. So every 6 days, after every 6 days or 7 days, a rest day. But with the Industrial Revolution, things change. Every day you work, and then you take days at sometimes where your boss allows you to. So these breaks, these rest days, these holidays are important to us. We break from the crowd so that we see ourselves as we really are, and we practice for ourselves to be for our own happiness. So that is important. Okay, that is called renunciation. We learn to let go. So don't think in terms of giving up sensual pleasures. Think of practicing renunciation, simple practice of renunciation. So remember, the first thing we renounce is we're in connection with our body and speech. For example, that's what the 5 precepts are about. Number 1, renounce killing. Number 2, renounce what is not yours. In fact, in the next lesson in this sutta, you find Buddha teaching just that. Give up what is not yours. Okay, don't steal. Number 3, give up sensual pleasures when you're not supposed to have it anyway. Right? Be content. And then number 4 is what? Give up lying. Give up the desire to make ourselves feel great by telling lies, things like that. So we let go of that. We sacrifice that. And the last one is not to drink. Right? We give up drinks so that our mind is clear. So we start with that simple renunciation. We don't have to totally give up sensual pleasures, but we cut down to a sensible level so that we don't suffer on account of the pleasure. Then it's not more really pleasurable because it brings suffering, right? Then the most difficult one is our ideas and views. We have to examine them and say, okay, these views, are they useful? Are they right? So if they're not useful or right, then I have to give up those views, right? Now, these are difficult. So you need wisdom to do this. So that's how we let go of things that prevent us from growing, not merely letting go of sensual pleasures. So that is the idea behind this sutta. The Buddha is not saying sensual pleasures are bad, you must give up sensual pleasures. The Buddha is saying you should study the sutta properly, understand the meaning of the suttas, and practice accordingly. And by asking all these questions, you are doing that. You are inquiring, you're curious, you're saying, how do I practice all these things correctly? So, and I'm trying my best to answer those questions. Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Brother Tan Kim Si. Is it correct to say that the Buddha was comparing the raft to the Dhamma? The raft had safely brought the person to the other shore, letting go the raft in the mind. Similarly, by practicing the Dhamma upon being enlightened.
Oh yes, that's one way of putting it. Yes, as I said, the raft can represent the Dhamma. We use the Dhamma when we cross over the ocean of waters of suffering and attain the other shore. That will be the Arahats. There is another parable, the parable of the shipwreck survivors. Okay, so this parable, this person, let's say 4 people are shipwrecked. More than 4 actually. Others are panicking and so on, so they drown. So there's nothing much to talk about. You have this number 1, the stream winner. He's floating up and down, and he's able to float. So and he can see land. See, so he's floating safely, and then he's slowly moving in that direction. So that's a stream winner. He's floating safely, but he's still in deep water. And then you have the once returner. He's kind of going a little faster ahead. And then you have another person who is standing on some sand underwater, and but there's still water up to maybe his waist or chest, so he has to move nearer to the shore, but he's safer than the other 2. Then you have the Arahat who's already on dry land, so you see them in 4 ways. So in the case of the raft, the Arahat already reached the other shore, so he doesn't need the raft. He doesn't need the Dharma in that sense, okay, because he is the Dharma. He understands the Dharma. What is the Dharma here? He sees the Four Noble Truths. He understands the Four Noble Truths. In that sense, he doesn't need the Dharma anymore. But here, when the Buddha says letting go of the Dharma, I think he's referring more to ideas that we have about the Dharma. Maybe wrong ideas. We got to let go of those. Some people will say, oh, this is what I think the sutta means, and I'm going to stick with it. You could be wrong, right? So we are willing to let go of that idea. So it refers to ideas. Or we can say the Dhamma here refers to views, refers to emotions even. Sometimes we get angry and you got to let go of the anger, right? We are sad, we got to let go of sadness. We are worried, we got to let go of worrying, things like that. We can let go of all these things through understanding how the mind works, understanding nature of meditation, and remembering the teaching in this sutta. Okay? All right. Let's go on.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from JC. Regarding the using of capital letters and when it is used for important matters, is this then considered as conditioning or like an example of conditioning? Thank you.
Yeah, of course. These are conventions. Okay, there's nothing wrong. Big, small letters. It is what is the idea behind it. That is important, right? So, as I said, that's my purpose and why I use those kind of conventions, so that when you read the suttas, you understand better what the sutta is trying to say, or how I translate it. And then from there, you can refine your way of thinking, and you can act in such a way that the monks and the nuns will respect you. They won't make use of you. They won't see you merely as someone who has blind faith, who will do anything for them, because then they have wrong ideas. It's not very helpful to them either. So we got to tell these monks and nuns, we want them to be good. We don't want bad monks. We don't want monks who have Facebook account and put PayPal account asking for money there. We don't want them to, you know, show worldliness and so on, and you know, go out in the night, things like that. So we have to tell them quite frankly, we don't want this, because if you don't, then one day they might say, you never told me so. You see, so that's how the Vinaya works. The Buddha is not there, but the people are there. You can tell them these things. This is what happened in the Buddha's time. King Bimbisara goes to the Buddha and say, you know, why don't you introduce this rule? Why don't you ask why don't the monks gather full moon, new moon days, recite teach the Dharma and so on. King Bimbisara, a layman, so the Buddha. Then there were other lay people who came along and complained, oh, you know, the monks did this, the monks did that. And then the Buddha said, okay, the Buddha told the monks, don't do this. You are making the lay people lose faith. You see? So the Vinaya is to help lay people have faith, keep their faith, and also to protect them. That the monks do not destroy families. In fact, that's the word used. The monks should not destroy families. The monks do not spoil families. The monks do not corrupt families. Right? So these are all Vinaya terms. See, the thing is, some monks, I have to be very specific here, otherwise it won't work. As a rule, from what I observe, many Sinhalese monks do not keep the Vinaya today. Even in Sri Lanka, many monks, many lay people know this. There are these Vinaya-less monks, you see. Even from the top ones, very clever monks, you know, they are so scholarly, like in the Sutta, they stop observing the Vinaya, you see. I mean, you don't see in Malaysia, Singapore, any of these monks actually holding the Patimokkha every fortnight, you know, full moon, new moon days. They don't gather together to recite the Vinaya rules. That is already quite telling, you know. And occasionally I have some very interesting lay Buddhist leaders. Once one of them asked the monk, why don't you teach Vinaya? You know, say, you know, you never heard monks teach Vinaya. So he was very curious. And you know, this monk was glared at him suddenly, said, why do you want to learn the Vinaya? so we know something's wrong there. So something is serious, and I think we got to start correcting all this. If we don't, then our next generation will have a worse kind of Buddhism. You're not going to have suttas like what we have now, you know. You're going to have other things. Modern Buddhism, there isn't anything can do. Next thing you see is monks dancing and playing golf and so on. You already see pictures of those on the Facebook. So be careful. If we do not stand up for the Dhamma, we will deserve what we get in the future. So we have to be brave. We have to stand up for the Buddha's teaching as the Buddha has taught us. It's up to us in this case. Oh, there are good monks too, by the way, but they are, you know, in the forest practicing. But even among them, the forest monks, there are problems also. There are monks who are lost in the world because people like them so much, give them millions of dollars, and then that's the end of their monk life as forest monks. So we have another tragedy there. See, so there's a lot of educating for us to do. We have to do the right thing, starting with ourselves. All right. So these are serious matters. We have to think carefully, work together, and try to better things. Okay. It's too big to deal with this here. As I say, we have to, you know, discuss it separately. These issues with the right people. Otherwise, you say, "Oh dear, what do? I can't do anything about it." To some extent, it is quite true. But then again, if the right people get together, we can do something about it. And there are good people out there. And when good people are silent, weak people can't do anything. There is a sutta which says, when the king is weak, then the robbers will prosper. So the king must be strong. The leader must be strong. We get stronger by getting together the right people, talking about the right things, talking Dhamma, and then working together to see what we can do together. Maybe not for now, but definitely plan something for the future, step by step. Okay, so this is how we work as a community. We build the foundation, and then the next generation build from there. Okay, let's go on. Any more questions?
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. There's one more question from Sister Rachel.
Sure.
Do forest monks study suttas, or do they do what Zen monks do, spend all their time meditating to realize the truth without
well, okay.
studying suttas?
All right, let me correct the last part first. Number one, Zen monks do not meditate all day. Well, in fact, Zen monks' meditation is not, in a sense, they have to learn the kind of meditation you and I do also, basic meditation. I know of a scholar who was a Korean Zen monk before. He said that even those Zen monks in Korea, they have to study basic Buddhism and they do basic meditation. Basically, they're like any other monk. It's just that they talk more than we do, you know, and they talk about not keeping to the suttas, but they still study suttas anyway. It's that Zen has become so fashionable that we think Buddhism is Zen. That's far from the truth. You go to Japan, you'll be shocked to see actually nobody cares about Zen. It's not a Japanese thing anymore. It's an American thing, yes, but it's not a Japanese thing because there's a law called the Nikujiki Saitai law where monks and nuns have to take meat and they cannot wear the robe except for ceremonies only. So Buddhism has been secularized in Japan. So there's no more Zen. That's the way we know it in the centuries ago. They don't meditate all day. They do study basic suttas too, like other monks. Yes, that's the good thing. So I would say that we begin simple from where we start, whichever tradition we follow. Don't try not to compare the different kinds of monks because they're very different traditions. They come from different countries, and you know they have all kinds of cultures to deal with also. So you find it's very difficult to compare. So for us, we got to get back to basics. That's the important thing. What is the basic practice I need to do? Okay, that's what we should ask ourselves. Anyway, if I've not answered your question satisfactorily, please ask again the part which I've not answered. Okay, but sometimes I may go off the point. Okay, go on, please.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. I think that's the last question in the chat box.
All right, we still have a few, about 5 minutes.
At the moment, there's no one raised any hand.
5 minutes more to go. Yes, let's still ask.
Excuse me, can we get everybody to turn on their videos?
Oh, yes, videos on, please. Yeah, so that we can get a nice, yes, very good. Oh, it's beautiful to see all those pictures coming on and see human beings all over. Oh, Gamini. Yeah, it's okay. Go on, sorry. Yeah, go on, yes.
Yeah, any more questions from the floor?
From the screen.
from outer space. We are in cyberspace now, actually. I'm always amazed at just to see you all on my screen, you know. I just tell myself, this is like in the Buddha's time, the Buddha is able to, you know, see anyone he wants. He doesn't need a computer. Yes, any other question?
We welcome questions. If not, should we close Piya?
Okay. Let me, since we have a few minutes, let me just about 4 minutes. Let me just say a few things. You know, when we study suttas, it challenges us. Sometimes our views are challenged. Well, that's the whole idea about suttas. It makes us think deeper. It's not saying that we are wrong. It is saying that we can go further. The Buddha is always telling the monks, go further. It's not enough. The monk is at stream winning. The Buddha says, not enough. Go further. Take another step. So the Buddha is always saying that to the monks. There are suttas which says this. Only when the monk has attained arahathood, then the Buddha says, okay, that's enough, because there's nothing beyond arahathood. So the suttas challenge us to look at ourselves, to strengthen ourselves, to have moral courage, to be not afraid to criticize ourselves. No one will know. So you criticize yourself, you examine yourself, you correct yourself. That's the wonderful thing you can do for yourself. So this is one thing. The other thing is, this is an opportunity that we all get to know the teaching as it is as given by the Buddha. There are a lot of Buddhism going around, but you find most of this Buddhism are kind of like temple-centered, monk-centered, person-centered. So we only like know the person, know the center. We do not really know the suttas. Here, our purpose is to study the suttas as it is. Go back to the Buddha. Go back to the Arahats. So go back to early Buddhism. So maybe one day I don't know, we can have a special seminar to discuss some of these issues. It's not going to be easy, but it's possible. Just think about it. Okay. All right. So on that note, I think I'm always happy to finish early. Then I can back to my translation work. So that now we have done just nice. We've reached around 1 more minute to 9 o'clock. So let us spend this few minutes. Yes.
Brother Piya,
yeah.
Today is the most important topic about the sensual desire, gratifications, and
yes,
danger and escape.
Who is speaking here, please?
Sorry to ask you this.
Who is speaking here?
This Dharma which...
Wait, who is identify
the
yourself?
Dharma...
Swami go.
Oh, Swami, okay, yes, sorry, yeah. Yeah, go on.
The Dharma which we are chanting every day, homage to the Dharma and homage to the Sangha.
Yes.
Do you think that we should run away from all the monks? What I'm trying to say is that add into what Brother Kim Si was trying to say. All of these devotees are gratifying, trying to satisfy the monk.
Yes.
By more or less through sensual desires through all kinds of ways. This gratifying that is going around for years and years. I do not blame anyone or devotee or whatever. We are saying that we are chanting every day in the homage to the Dharma, which is Pasiko Upaniko. We have already investigated the Dharma. We understand the Dharma. We're supposed to have this Dharma to try to overcome this sensual desire by not gratifying, not even to them or to ourselves.
Very true.
But at the same time, the Sangha that we homage to the Sangha every day in the morning, where we say that they are the blessed one disciple who has practiced well, who has practiced directly, insightfully, practiced with integrity, and such the one to be worthy of gift, of hospitality, of offering.
Can I stop you there? Okay, that Sangha is the noble Sangha. It's not those monks who you see around here today. It's not them that we're paying homage to. That is the noble Sangha. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I have to stop here because we nearly time's up already. In fact, it is time's up. So yeah, what you say is very true, but I'm not saying we all should give up the monks. I'm not anti-monks. I'm anti-bad monks.
I'm trying to highlight we are supporting indirectly gratifying them.
Yes.
And that gratification not only that is not only dangerous. We are all going to hell for no reason. We are all this. After we have the Dharma, we have the homage to the Dharma. We
understand. I have to put you on mute now. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so yeah, sometimes we really feel unhappy about these things. Brother Somi is one of those people who are really very strong Dharma mind, and he has gone through a lot of difficulties himself. So I totally support this, but we are not against the monks because they are helpless themselves. This is what I'm trying to say. So if we don't give them that help and encouragement, they will continue to be weak themselves. So don't blame them. Okay. So if you understand how the monks are supposed to behave, and you know the Dhamma well, then they also be wondering, see, that they should themselves practice well. So this is my way, see, that we encourage them. And there are monks who actually read a lot of our suttas, Sutta Discovery. They even listen to these talks, you know, they watch the tapes and so on. So we are doing our part, you see, but they are not strong themselves to change things because there are lots of powerful people. That is why I often hint, I mention these troubles all come from higher up, you know, the chief high priest, the nayakas, and all these big names that we have to deal with. So we got to know what's going on first. Right? And I'm not saying it's easy. It's for the leaders to work together. But for us, for you and I, studying the suttas is how we strengthen ourselves for our own practice. And on that note, we will be happy right now. And that is how we build up this foundation so that we can continue to learn the Dhamma. And that's the most important thing to us. We can gather here to continue to celebrate our good karma. This is what's important right now. Okay, we're not fighting anymore. Remember, we are building up this joyful state so that we continue to be happy together whenever we meet. And we will inspire others to say, oh, why don't I join them? Why don't I become like you all, like we all, see? So this is how we should think, all right? Okay, let us close on that happy note. So I want us to be peaceful for this moment. Just sit down. Remember, we have gathered together today from different parts of the world. We have recited the precepts. We have recited the three jewels. We have also practiced meditation and listened to the Dhamma. So really wonderful, good things you have done. By all these good acts you have done, may we contribute to the peace, the success, and happiness of the Buddha's, that the Buddha's teaching may prosper. And more of those who are practicing the Dhamma or seeking the Dhamma find the true teaching and be happy within themselves, that they may bring happiness to others too. So send your kind thoughts to those people who are important to you, that they may be well and happy. May every one of you to be well and happy, that you may continue to know the true teachings and bring the true teachings to others too. May you all be well and happy. Let us now close this gathering. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Bow down. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Bow down to the Dhamma. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Bow down to the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay.
Thank you, Piya. Thank you for your teachings, and thank you everyone for participating, and looking forward to see everyone again in the next class, the part 2 of this sutta.
Yes. Okay, so remember, part 2, we will not finish it. So next part more, we got a little deeper. And tomorrow we have another teaching, TP number 3, I think, right? On the 10 fetters and the meaning of renunciation for lay people, by the way. Okay. So tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. But this one is under Minding Center. So you go to the Minding Center Telegram. Okay. All right. So good night to everyone. Have
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Piya. Good night.
Sadhu, thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Metta to all.
Yes, metta too.
Thank you.
It's very good to see Doris finally here.